Hi, Randy Clouse here with Hagerty. Today we're going to give you a few pointers, a few tips on what to look for while purchasing a classic car. So today we're looking at a 1950 Willys Jeepster. The first thing I'm going to look at is I'm just going to walk around the car, do a quick visual. I'm going to look for chips, scratches, any rust, just the general condition of the body. So let's take a walk. First thing I'm noticing is we got a few minor scratches, no big deal. Chrome looks good, bumper. You know, nothing's really bent or really messed up at all. I'm looking at the body seams, looking at the fenders, looking at the door gaps, just kind of in general looking at the chrome, looking to see if there's anything missing, anything that's not supposed to be there. I'm noticing one thing right away here is the tires. We have one kind of tire on the ground and we have a different spare tire, and the spare tire is flat. So that may be a concern. Really doesn't look too bad. Uh-oh, look at this. See a big old chip here in the door. Now, typically metal doesn't chip. Typically metal will bend if it opens up. So let's open the door, and you can see that there's a great big chip out of this. So that's most likely means there's a bunch of Bondo or plastic filler in the door. So I'm going to go ahead right now and I'm going to open the hood. And let's do a little quick inspection under there just to make sure that everything looks in order. One of the first things I'm going to look for under the hood is I want to see what kind of oil leaks the engine has. Is the oil running out of the valve cover? Is it all over everything? What kind of condition everything's in? In this particular case, somebody looks like they've done a very good job of maintaining the car. I don't see any real significant oil leaks on the motor. Everything's nice and clean. Coolant hoses are in good shape. They're pliable. It's got a newer battery in it with newer cables on it. Battery hold down in good shape. Firewall looks good. It's got a new fuel filter on it. The air cleaner is an original air cleaner, but it's nice and clean. Also, I want to take a look at the engine oil. Engine oil is nice and clean. So what we don't want to see is we don't want to see black, thick oil in it. We'd like to see nice clean oil. We're from northern Michigan, so rubber items stay pretty pliable. But in the southern states and in the deserts, the heat really takes its toll on it. So what we're really looking for on all the rubber hoses and the belts and everything is just to look to see if they're pliable. Squeeze them, twist them a little bit. You know, and what you don't want to feel is you don't want to feel hard hoses, and you don't want to see any cracking in them. You know, other than that, you know, if there is hardness or cracking, then it's a good indication that we have to go ahead and change them up at some point. Another thing to look at in the radiator is on the back side, you want to make sure that the radiator fins themselves are in good order. Sometimes the water pumps go bad, and what will happen is the fan will start wobbling and it'll actually do damage to the radiator. So you just want to make sure that the radiator looks to be in good order. So let's go ahead and start it up and see how it sounds. So right off the bat, I can see the fuel coming into the fuel filter. The fuel filter is nice and clean. Motor idle is pretty smooth. They're not all going to idle perfect. No real noises or ticks, knocks. Belt's got a little bit of squeak, but they all do a little. So let's go around here and check one more thing. Inside the car, I can see that the oil pressure is running about 40 pounds at an idle, which is really good. You know, it's charging, so that kind of tells me the alternator's good, the generator's good. The other thing I want to do, well, it's sitting here, is just check the clutch. So I put it in gear, and I just want to see what it takes to make the car move. So really it's about 2 inches off the floor. It's coming in. That's about right. So I don't want to feel where there's just a ton of play or it's a super hard clutch, because either one of those could indicate it's getting time to, it's time to replace the clutch. But my next inspection is going to be jack up the front tire and check the ball joint and the suspension. Very easy check to do. On this particular car, it has a leaf spring on the front end, so I'm able to jack up on that And by jacking up on that leaf spring, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take any tension off the suspension components. So now, since I'm not going to be under the car, I'm not going to worry too much about a jack stand at this point. So basically all I'm really going to do now is just taking at the top and the bottom of the tire, I'm just going to look for looseness. And I can actually feel looseness, and I hear a clunk. A little bit side to side, but there's more top and bottom. This car has kingpins in it, so I'm going to assume it's either a kingpin or a wheel bearing issue. Again, I don't know that much about the cars right now to do the diagnosis. I'm just looking to see that there is some wear. So let's go ahead and check the other side. If you can't do that yourself, my recommendation would be you're probably going to want to find a mechanic that's going to work on it. I would try to get the car inspected by that mechanic. That way you have a good idea if anything's wrong with the car, just to be safe. Okay, this side actually has a little more movement. So basically what that's telling me is knowing I'm going to be looking at investing some money into the front end. It's got some worn parts. So you have to keep an open mind on the purchase price, that as we keep finding these things, it obviously takes away from the value of the car. So along with doing a front suspension check, we also should do a light check. Check the headlights, check the dimmer switch, check the turn signals, check the brake lights, just to make sure all the lighting is good working order. So turn the light switch on. Okay, I've got two headlights. Now in this model, the parking lights just don't work unless it's in the parking mode. Got tail lights, good. Check the dimmer switch. Yep, I have dim lights, that's good. I'm going to turn these off to 1 notch, and that should give me parking lights up front. Yep, those work. So turn signals, they are flashing very fast. So basically what that indicates to me is it's probably got the wrong flasher in it. As time goes on, a lot of folks will put the wrong flashers in, and they don't have the right resistance. So that means that the flasher will flash too fast. So what I have here is a brake prop rod, so I don't have to have a buddy come and hold my brake pedal for me. I can just manually apply the brakes, and I have brake lights. So all the lights pass test. And on this car, we have something extra special. We have a spotlight. So this would have probably been an option in a car. So let's see. Look at that, it even works. It's functional, so that's good news. So different options in the cars also are worth different values. So if you're looking to buy something that's a really special car, anything that has for options always increases the value. So this is the part where I'm not totally scared of the car, so I'm going to probably want to go do a little deeper look at it. I happen to have a hoist here available to me, but probably those of you that don't, either you're going to need to get on the ground, crawl around underneath the car and do this inspection, or drive it, if you can, to a local repair shop and have them put it up in the air and do the undercar inspection for you. So right now, I've got it up about eye level, and I'm already starting to see some telltale signs of body work. If we come up this fender and we come across this body line right here, you can see that it's fading away. It's got a kind of a hump here. It's got kind of, and you can actually see right there where the Bondo is, or the filler is inside. So obviously the car's been repainted, but at some point they've put a lot of Bondo into this fender. So that's not looking good for the home team here. It's going to be, I have a feeling that we're going to find a lot of body work in this car. Okay, so I can see right from here how we got a pretty decent line here, and then all of a sudden it just fades away. A lot of body guys or a lot of people don't do any more repair than they have to when they're doing these jobs. They just do the bare minimum up on top where you can see it. But as you look down, you can see where there's kinks. There's actually pieces of the fender missing. Lots of Bondo here. And then I can see back here where they've actually replaced some of the rocker panel. That rocker panel should come through. So this thing has really had an extensive amount of body work done on it. So another good trick to use is the magnet. Now be really careful, because obviously if you drag magnets on the paint, you can actually do damage to the paint. But let's start right here, go around. This magnet is barely sticking to any of this metal. And this is a good strong magnet, so it should take a lot to pull it off. This door, see, it doesn't even hardly stick at all to the door, so that means this door is probably full of Bondo. And you can see the door fit. See how it's got a great big gap here? And it's real thick, so obviously that's got Bondo in it. So let's go around. So look at that. There's absolutely no stick to this magnet whatsoever right there. We got a little bit there, none there, none there. You can hear the difference. So definitely a lot of Bondo right here in this area. Now they did a pretty good job of sanding it. I don't really see it in the paint. A lot of times you can see deformity, I guess you'd say, or you could see it, but on this one they did a pretty good job. Let's take a peek underneath. Oh my. So we actually have rust holes. We actually have great big gaping holes under here. So you can actually see the rocker panel or the repair they did. You can see the new metal on one side. This is the old metal. That's where this panel should have ended. And then we look just above it, and there's a great big rust holes. Just holes all the way through this whole side. So, in fact, need some rust, anyone? Also, I'm seeing up here where they've actually used some foam, some spray foam, to plug some holes. So obviously there was a hole up there and they were running through water puddles or something, and the water was actually running inside the car. So how they repaired that was they just put some spray foam in there. Not really the best in repairs. Let's look around the back. It's not looking too bad under here. Oh wow, this is all Bondo here in this corner as well. You can actually see the Bondo, where they brought the Bondo or the plastic filler around the edge, and there's actually a line of it. They never even bothered to sand it off or flatten it off or anything. So let's go through here and do some checking. Magnet doesn't stick at all up there. Not at all down here at all. So look at that, nothing there. Let's just start sticking up here a little bit. So this whole area has been repaired, Bondo as well. And then we're seeing the same on this side. This panel has been remade. Same rust on this side. So doors have been, so from a body inspection, the body is, I would say, in pretty poor shape. So depending on what you're buying, if you're buying a car thinking it's a number 1 car, this is probably a number 4 car. Number 1 being a really super nice car, showroom condition, versus a number 5 car, which is a parts car. I would label this as a 4, 4.5, maybe a 5, where because of all the body work that's been done on it, so the car definitely has less value than one that was properly repaired. So just make sure that you know what you're buying. So one more thing I'm going to look at under here is just take a quick peek at the exhaust. The exhaust all looks good. The shocks look good. They're not seeing any leaking. No bushings are worn out. Looking at the leaf springs, what you don't want to see on a leaf spring is you don't want to see a bunch of separation in the springs. You all want to be nice and tight. You don't want to see any cracking. Gas tank has been repaired, which isn't uncommon. You know, it's dry. There's no fuel leakage coming out of it. Also looking at the fuel lines. The fuel lines are all soft and pliable. In fact, this one's just been replaced, it looks like, with new clamps. Also, I'm looking at brake lines while we're under here just to make sure that all our brake lines are in good working order. They're not rusty, so they look good as well. General inspection underneath the front, no real signs of oil leak. So I would say this car has probably been maintained really well. It's just had, because of Michigan, it's probably lived a rough life with the weather. So another thing we want to look at, as long as especially since we have it in the air, is the tires. All the tires look like they have pretty decent tread. On all the tires from after 1980, they actually have a date code stamped on them. There's going to be a DOT number, some numbers, and a date code. A 3-digit date code means that they were produced before the year 2000. If there's a 3-digit code, like this one is 290, so that means this tire was made the 29th week of 1980. There's no, if it was the 29th week of 1990, there should be a little diamond after the number, which we don't have. So typically tires, they like to say 6 years to 10 years on a tire. So these tires, although they look in good condition, I would say they're probably not safe for highway use anymore. They should be replaced. So that's another consideration, just to look at the tires, look at the dates on the tires, verify how old they are. A newer tire after 2000 will have a 4-digit code. The first 2 digits will be the week of the year it's made. The second 2 digits will be the year. So like if it said 4208, that would mean it would be the 42nd week of 2008 that the tire was produced. Also on tires, along with the date, we'd want to also look at, a lot of times around the bead area, we're going to start seeing some cracking. Anything that's been out in the sun and sun-baked, you're probably going to see cracking going on. Anytime you see that, they're probably due to be replaced. So another thing I'm going to inspect on this is the convertible top. Some of these cars are just open cars. Some of them have tops that come up. So this one, I got looking, and it does have a convertible top. So let's see what it's going to take to get at it. Really? So basically what I ran into is the snap itself didn't want to unsnap. So I'm taking a screwdriver and I'm going on the back side so I don't rip the material. And I was able to get it to unhook, unsnap. Wow. Bunch of them giving me a problem. So we can slide that boot forward. And these usually just typically pick out. Well, we can see that the top is actually, looks like it's in really good condition. So with the top coming down, this should actually be going clear out to the windshield. So it needs to grow about 2 inches or stretch 2 inches. A lot of times these tops relax after they've sat for a long period of time, and it takes like sunlight and heat to actually stretch them back out. So, but fabric wise, it looks pretty good. The other thing I'm looking at is the bows. All the material inside here, it's all been freshly painted. So at some point somebody's done some work on the top. So that can be a very expensive piece to repair. So that's encouraging for the top. The other thing I noticed that it has is it's got a universal car cover. So that's a nice touch, you know. So that again tells me they must care somewhat for the car if they're willing to put a car cover on it. Something else I'm noticing on the interior now is that the seats, let's put this boot back down out of the way. The seats are decent. They've got decent upholstery going on in it, both front and rear. But the side panels are fiberglass, and they should be a cardboard with a vinyl over it. So at some point somebody has actually changed out these side panels to, they're just fiberglass, like bathroom enclosure pieces that they've cut out. You know, dash wise, all the gauges are matching gauges. All the knobs, the choke, the lights, all the knobs are there. The dash is painted well. So that part of this part of the car is looking in really good shape. This car is showing 94,352, so 94,352 miles. It's been driven a lot. Keep in mind that with odometers, they can be switched from car to car. So it's a good thing to look at them, but you can't always often trust them to be actual mileage. Another thing to look at or think about is the top is in good shape, but there should be some window glass and some door glass. And the owner states that they're no longer with the car, so that's something that I'm going to have to find if I'm really seriously interested in the car. Could be a very expensive find. So we've done our walk around, we've done our inspection of the interior and the motor, we've heard it run. That all seems to be pretty good. I think my next step now is I want to see the title. I want to see that the title is in the seller's name. I want to see the title has no lien against it. And then I want to verify the vehicle identification number on the tag, wherever it may be on the car, to the VIN number on the title. A lot of times we run into where either somebody has jumped title, they're selling it for somebody else. That can really become a problem when you go to register the car if it's not in the person that's selling it to you, if it's not in their name, or if they don't have a power of attorney to be selling the car for somebody else. A very important piece is to make sure the title is a good, clean title. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you found it informative. If you have any comments, leave it on the section below.